Hello again, Will Terry here, and today I'm going to make a video called Illustration War Stories. I've been wanting to make this one for quite a while. Uh, just some stories that I thought I'd share with you. I know a lot of people listen to, I've had a lot of people tell me they listen to my videos on the train. Some people will download them and listen to them on the way to work or while they're painting in their studio. So I thought this might be a fun time to make a video where I just share some of my unfortunate events that have happened in my career. Just a few of them. Luckily, not a ton of them. Before I get going, I'm just going to let you know a couple things that are going on. You can always check out what I'm doing on my blog, and there's a link to it right below at willterry.blogspot.com. You can also check out, I just made a new book section on my website, and I have a link to that at willterry.com here, and you can check out all my books. And I put up affiliate links to Amazon so I can actually get a kickback if people buy my books through there, all my children's books. So anyway, with that, let's start. I'm going to tell 4 stories, okay? So the first one, and most of these happened quite a while ago. Luckily, I guess maybe I'm learning from my mistakes because I haven't been having any horror stories that are more recent. Although I do have one, but I'm not going to share it because it's too close. I will share it sometime in the future. But anyway, so I'm going to share 4. And the first one I'm going to start off with was when I was first, I probably was an illustrator for maybe 3 or 4 years, long enough to have not been bothered by this. Today, this wouldn't bother me at all. But I had young kids. I think my kids were, at the time, my oldest 2 boys, I have 3 boys, I think my oldest 2 were 7 and 4, I think. And 7 and 4-year-old boys, they have a good time a lot of times, but sometimes they'll mix it up. And so, and I also at this time I had a problem talking to clients on the phone and being really comfortable with like the fact that I actually have a real life going on in my studio at home, and that things happen, that I actually have kids. And so I was like mortified that a client that I was talking to on the phone would actually be interrupted by my kids coming in or doing something. So it's summertime. I'm on the phone with a client, and I hear my kids come out the front door. And I had a studio at that time. I had a studio down in the basement, and I had a basement window, a window well right above me. And I hear my oldest son say to my youngest one, to the 4-year-old, "You know, there's a monster that lives down there." And I was in a place where I couldn't reach my the window to shut it. Because I was on, this is dating me. This is a corded phone, so I was tethered to the phone by a cord, and I couldn't reach the window to shut it. And I knew that the 4-year-old was going to go off, and sure enough, no, there's not. Yes, there is. And no, there's not. Oh yeah, and he's got big teeth and bad breath, and he'll eat you. I'm just mortified. And I can tell that I'm not paying attention to what the art director's saying. I can tell the art director can hear my kids and everything. And finally, I mean, I was just in a kind of I don't know, embarrassed and mortified state. And I finally had to stop the art director and say, "I'm sorry, I can't pay attention. I gotta shut this window." And I hadn't heard anything. I had to make the art director go through the whole story again. Okay, that was kind of a mild one. But if you have kids, you can relate. Okay, so the next one actually was a good one to learn a lesson from. So I got a call from a client, and this was back in the day of the fax machine. It's amazing how fast that technology came in and went out. So this was a lesson to me to make sure I got all the information. Nowadays you have email, and it's probably a lot easier. But I got this call. The art director said this was a Friday, and she was trying to get out of town, and so she was trying to make the assignment, and she said, I can't even remember who it was that I was working for, but she said, "I'll put all the information down in the fax." And I said, "Well, let me just get your phone number." And she says, "No, no, no, I've got it all in the fax. I'll just send it to you." Well, something happened on her end with her fax machine. Mine was absolutely fine, but I never got the fax. And so she went off that Friday, and I never got the fax. And I couldn't even remember the name of the company myself. I'm a visual learner, I'm not auditory. So I knew about what the company name was, but it was a magazine, and I was doing like, at that time, I was doing like 20 editorial pieces a month. So I would get tons of assignments coming in, and they were pretty routine, and I didn't really worry about it. And when she said she would put all of her information on the fax, I should have been very adamant and said, no, 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 what's your phone number? Let me get it in case the fax doesn't come through. Well, the fax never came through. So here I am. I don't know the name of the art director. I don't know the name of the company. I don't have any information. I don't have a phone number. I don't have an address. I don't have anything. Sketches for this are due in a week. Well, how am I going to turn in sketches to a company I don't know anything about, or the art director? So I had to wait, painfully wait, until the art director called me. And she called me on a Friday when they were due, and she said, hey, I never saw those sketches come in. And I said, I got to tell you a story about a fax that never came in. And she got pissed. Now, the funny thing is, her fax never came through. And she was the one who told me, don't worry about it. I'll put it all in the fax. But she was so mad. She was like, look, we've got to have this in next week, and I can't believe that why didn't you call me? And I go, didn't have any information on you. Well, why didn't you look me up? I told you my name, and I told you, why didn't you look up the company and stuff? And I'm like, I couldn't remember anything. But she was pissed. It didn't go well. I ended up doing the job, and I never heard from her again. But lesson learned, if you're ever in that situation where you have to rely on technology, sometimes it's best to take a little time and put that information down and make sure that you have it. Okay, so that's the second one. So the third one is when I got an opportunity to work for a company that I never thought I would ever work for. And actually, this came through an ad agency, so it's a little bit different. But the company threw me for a loop. I've worked on a lot of different projects for a lot of different types of companies, but this one was actually working for when the art director dropped the name. It was, we'd like you to do an illustration for New Freedom Maxi Pads. So there you go. Now, being a guy and all, it kind of threw me a little bit, I mean, I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, all right, well, what are we going to be drawing here? So the art director talked through it, and she says, oh, it's just going to be a funny ad about, and we like your style, and we want this woman laying on the couch, and she's not feeling good and stuff like that. And so that was fine. And then she said, now I noticed that you do calligraphy too. You do kind of a hand lettering style. And we were thinking about going with a hand lettering style on this ad. Would you be interested in doing that as a separate illustration, and we can work out a fee that's completely separate for that? I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to do that. She goes, okay, so the style that we're looking at is this one, and she pointed to some of my samples. And then she said, oh, and one more thing, don't use red. And I went, oh, gotcha. And then there was this awkward pause. And then she says, no, not because of that. The background color is red. And I was so embarrassed. Happens. Okay, and the third one, this one's a little bit longer. This was my favorite one. So I get a call from Arizona Highways magazine, and I had done a bunch of work for them in the past. And the article that I was going to be doing an illustration for was for the concept of patrons to the Arizona, I guess it's their state zoo, the Arizona State Zoo. I don't know what it's called. But there was an article in the Arizona Highways magazine about patrons that go to the zoo in Arizona, and they adopt a tortoise, and they come in and they do volunteer hours, and they take care of a tortoise. These old turtles, and apparently the article said that the tortoises are friendly. They, they're not like a snapping turtle that are going to bite your head off or something. But they're very friendly, and they also like to be cleaned, and they like to be petted. So I was like, oh, okay, that could be kind of fun. And so what did you have in mind? And they said, well, we thought, why not just have, a woman that's just kind of petting a tortoise. So she's just having a good time, and the tortoise is enjoying it, and she's petting a tortoise. I'm like, all right. So you get like maybe some items in the background that would be, natural to the environment of the tortoise enclosure and stuff, and try to come up with an enjoyable composition. So I went to the drawing board, drew some sketches. I faxed in my sketches. The fax actually went through, and then I get the okay to go ahead with the illustration. So this was back when I was working in acrylics. So I painted it up, got it all finished, sent it off, didn't think anything of it. And then I get this call from the art director at Arizona Highways Magazine. And it goes something like this. Hey, Will. Yeah. We just wanted to talk over the illustration a little bit. We need a little bit of an alteration on it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah. What did you have in mind? And she says, well, we noticed that there was kind of a, kind of an interesting, kind of like she's beating around the bush. She's not getting the words. So there's kind of do you see a problem with it at all? And I go, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I had drawn this illustration of the woman holding on to the turtle, and she's kind of, tortoises have long necks, and she's holding on to the tortoise and kind of petting it on the head, but she's kind of holding it out, kind of in front of her, and it looked a little questionable. And the art director goes, do you see how she's holding the turtle? I'm like, yeah. Do you see how she's holding the turtle kind of in front of her? Yeah. It doesn't look odd to you at all? I'm like, no. Do you see how she's holding it out? And I go, oh my gosh. And as soon as I said that, the room erupted in laughter. And I didn't realize this, but I was on speakerphone the whole time, and apparently everybody that worked for Arizona Highways Magazine had come into this art director's office because they couldn't wait to hear the call between the illustrator and the art director, and they wanted that moment of enlightenment. They wanted to see what they wanted. Schadenfreude, basically, or Schadenfreude, the German term. They were taking pleasure in my pain, and so then I said, oh, okay, I get it. You guys have all just want to see the illustrator come to the knowledge of the mistake that he made. And we had a good laugh about it, but that was probably one of the most embarrassing moments that I've ever had as an illustrator. And that also taught me to really zoom out on my illustrations and take a second look, get second opinions at home. What do you think? When you work on your piece, you lose complete objectivity. You can't see the forest for the trees anymore. You can't see the overall picture because you're so caught up in the details and the colors and the textures and all those things. And I had completely lost context for that image. And it's something that I should have caught. I'm sure if I had shown it to my wife would have said, you can't turn that in. But I didn't, and it was a great embarrassing moment. It was a great lesson learned, and I haven't had that problem since. But I can show you probably 5 or 6 different illustrations from my students over the years who have had those kinds of problems, and it's simply from not looking at it and zooming out and looking at the overall big picture. Anyway, those are my war stories. I'm sure that you have some too. I would love to hear about them sometime. Maybe you could put one in the comments. It'd be fun. I read all the comments, by the way. I don't always respond to all the comments. I have to apologize for that, but I get people that message me on Twitter and on Facebook and on my email, on my blog, on YouTube, and I've gotten to the point where I can't keep up with them. So if I can answer, if I'm in a position where I can, I do. But I'm very grateful for all the comments that I get, and I read every single one of them. So there's never a time that I don't see them. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time on my channel.